Okay, I'm recording.
The Trinity of DC Comics has been known since the name existed as Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Now, those three characters are definitely the cornerstones of DC Comics. But does it always have to be that way? Could there be the potential for three different characters to usurp the original big three and form a new big trinity over at DC Comics? Is there space for a new trinity?
I think there could be space for it. Here's the thing when it comes to DC Comics is that comparatively to the other their biggest competition, Marvel, DC is really focused on legacy, and I think because of that legacy, there could be certain characters that can fill those roles, those Trinity roles, um, more than Marvel characters could, or any other comic book. I think that there are some clear winners in this. Like I think Nightwing can definitely be a character that does that. Um, when I think of the Trinity, though, like I'm thinking of like the legacy of those characters. So it's Nightwing, Superboy, and Donna Troy. Those are the first ones that jump to my mind. I think Donna Troy maybe is the iffiest because she has probably had the least to do in recent memory. But I think there's potential there. And I know that when people think Superboy, they might think Connor Kent, but I think it's John. I think John has had a lot of groundwork made in recent time to be able to fill that role that his dad had. I mean, he is literally Superman at this point. So I think if DC really wanted to put the main three on ice, these are characters that already have a foundation that they can build up.
See, I don't think the main Trinity needs to be put on ice. I think that there's a degree of step aside that they can do. They can still have their books, they can still be places, but DC can also have their cake and eat it too. You know, the Superman title, the Batman title, and the Wonder Woman title can still sell gangbusters. They can still be in the league. They can still whatever. But there can also be a title with whatever characters, uh, either in a team or in an event that can rally together and figure out how to inspire in the same way that Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman do, but new.
I think that comes down to how you pass that legacy on in that case. Like I agree that they don't have to be put on ice, but it becomes a matter of how do you position Nightwing in order to take the mantle of the bat representative for the Justice League or
Here's the
mm,
thing, Marco. Here's the
mm,
thing.
mm?
I thought about this.
Yeah,
It's not the bat. Nightwing's not the bat. He's the super.
he's the super.
Yup.
Nightwing,
Think about it.
yeah,
He's an orphan whose parents were killed and his world exploded, and he went off to a different one.
and his name does come from a Kryptonian.
I think of all the characters that inspire hope, Dick Grayson's number
Mm,
2.
mm. I see what you mean.
I don't think that this is possible. I think there's a big problem that DC would have to overcome, which is the fans. And I don't think that you could really sell people on the idea of the big three being replaced. I guess like replaced in the sense of being the three characters that are most prominent, I guess, because if that's the logic, right? then I don't think you can make three characters that will sell as well as Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, unless you were willing to do something like if you were willing to do like Harley Quinn maybe, but I don't know that that makes any sense. So for me, I don't think from a financial point this can work, and I just don't think fans care as much in mass about anybody outside of Bruce, Clark, and Diana to make this possible.
I'd also to kind of agree with you, Sean. I think we have proof that it doesn't work, or at least that DC is not capable of doing it all the way. I think post Dark Crisis, where the Justice League stepped away but they were still there, it was confusing. It made no real sense.
Well, but it was confusing because we already knew they were dead. I mean, they were alive.
Sure, I guess, but we
He's
knew they
talk-
were where they were around. They were still back.
Yeah, Tyler's talking about post Dark Crisis where they were back, but there was no league and the Titans stepped forward.
Oh, I see. I apologize.
And
But,
then,
even
well,
go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say, and then like, and to the opposite of that, 5G was positioned as a way of keeping the Trinity, but having others fall into their place, and that never launched either, or at least not fully. So the two routes I see to doing this sort of happened in recent memory, and neither of them worked. And we're here at DC All In, where it's not that it's going all in on the Trinity really, and solidifying their realms of the comics.
I guess I was taking this as a new Trinity in that a trio that has a similar iconography, not necessarily that they're going to replace a Batman, a Superman, a Wonder Woman, but rather the three of them also become a triumvirate of their own right. And in my mind, that becomes to do what you were saying, Tyler. I think it passes that legacy down. Like, you guys are the three of this next generation because we have sort of bestowed it upon you, the Batman to Nightwing, the Superman to John, Wonder Woman to Donna, and to be able to say, okay, where uh, should should we not be, or should we be incapacitated? You guys are that next line of defense because you guys can wrangle the teams in a similar way.
So I guess how we're tackling the question is a little different. I think in terms of the potential of it being a possibility with publishing, I think that's a different answer than plot wise, where I think Marco is where you're kind of going. Like, I think there are storyline reasons and ways to do this that make sense for the DCU as a grand story. And I agree with that. But I also agree with Sean. Like, creatively, that's the case. Realistically, maybe not so much.
Yeah, the current Trinity is so ingrained in what we associate with DC at the moment, and even pop culture, right? I think the Harley Quinn angle is different in that that comes from a popularity outside of the comics perspective. But I think if that's the case, then isn't there also potential for other characters to be able to do something similar where they can rise to the popularity outside of the comics?
I would be amazed. I mean, Harley Quinn is lightning in a bottle. She originated in an animated series, so her existence began outside of comics. And so many people know her from there. I mean, when you go to these comic book conventions, man, she's all over the map. I don't know how another character can reach that level of popularity that's going to rival the big three. That's a tall order.
And I think when it comes to the Trinity, Wonder Woman's the only one who's really kind of on shaky ground. Like, World's Finest, Batman, Superman, that's a staple. That ain't changing ever. But Wonder Woman, because both in comics and in film, in non comics, she's been hard to solidify.
And I would also throw out there that when you talk about like World's Finest, for example, we sort of have like the idea of like that passed down relationship because we do have the Super Sons with Damien and John. The third of that is supposed to be Trinity. And so I guess like in a certain from a certain perspective, DC is telling us like that is the future Trinity. It would be Trinity herself, John, and Damien. And that is one of those things where I just have to see it play out because I think Damien and John are solidified. They'll be around in the long term. For me, Trinity is like, okay, how much of this is just because that's Tom King's baby right now? Will people still play with her? Because we just had Yada Flor, and she was supposed to be that next up, and now she's in the jungle somewhere.
Who?
Exactly.
Loved her. That was such a good idea. Do you think that? I guess it's interesting that like DC is positioning Damien to be who that is. Do you guys? I've always felt that should belong to Nightwing. Whether I know he doesn't want it in story and character wise, but I feel like with them when the chips are down and someone needs to step up, he becomes the most responsible party.
I agree with you, but I think Damien works in the sense of it being a narrative device that looks into the future, because you can see literal aging up of Damien in something like that. I think Nightwing is almost too solidified as a hero in and of itself to be able to be like, oh, this is what the future holds, because that's too near future almost.
Yeah, I also feel like, and maybe there's a great conversation there about who should be the true um taking over the mantle of Batman. But I feel like Nightwing is like 28 in my mind at least. Damian is still a young kid, so I certainly think more of the future when I look at a teenager.
And Damien and future is ingrained in the character. Batman 666.
Right. Yeah.
It's always peeking into our future. Like Damien will be Batman at some point.
I don't see Damien as in the Trinity. I see him as Batman. I don't see him having any interest in that.
Wait, okay, hold on. I like this actually. Him being Batman, but he's just not a team player.
Yeah, that's not Damien.
But
He
if it's
hangs out with
John?
John because he likes John.
But
He
what if-
didn't want John on the Teen Titans. Like I I don't think Damien is a team player at all.
I mean, in the DC All In special, he gets a Justice League card and throws it out.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I guess just based on the Trinity backups that we get from Wonder Woman, DC themselves are positioning those characters in that way. But how that will manifest, only time can tell.
yeah.
They will be the future Trinity while I'm old. Like, it'll always just be pushing the goalpost.
Right. Like, I think they are the future Trinity, whether we'll ever see that future come to pass or not.
Like, Miguel O'Hara is the future Spider-Man.
Right.
Yeah.
One day he'll be Spider-Man. In 2099 in real life, he will still not be Spider-Man.
Yep.
Yeah. Because Peter
Yeah.
Parker will still be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And there's a great
Ow.
story there that I'll never be able to read, which is a bummer.
That sucks,
Yeah.
dude. I really want to see what happens in 2099 in Marvel.
I need to start getting some infant blood and putting it in myself. That's how that works, right? That's what the rich people do.
Wow.
It is.
Damn, that's interesting. All right. We're gonna
Which
leave
part?
Marvel in 2099. Like
Oh.
I gotta see this. Like does shit. Okay. Does Miguel O'Hara become the Spider-Man of 2199? Like, do they just push that shit back?
Sean,
or-
this is a whole other video. Is what happens to Marvel in 2099.
They force him. That's it. That's the big Marvel initiative. They're playing the longer game.
All right. You guys let us know what you think about a potential new Trinity. While you're at it, what does Marvel do in 2099? Hit us up in the comments. Make sure you like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you like what we do. We'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys.